Hey guys, we're checking out the EG Oahu. This is a nice cruiser, relaxed electric bike with an upgraded battery. I looked at this last year, and it's very similar to what I saw then. Kind of nice to see something that's like comfortable with the adjustable stem, swept back bars, stitched ergonomic grips, fatter tires. If you take a look at these Kendas, 26 by 2.125 with this checkerboard kind of go anywhere tread. I like that it has disc brakes, and we've got the motor inhibitors on those. It's nice to have the extra braking power because this is a fairly powerful bike. 500 watt internally geared hub motor in the rear, 48 volt, 10.5 amp hour battery pack. Maybe it's 10.4. It certainly packs a punch, and you need to be able to stop when you're on a speed pedelec. It has pedal assist, and one of the big upgrades for the new version is that the little cadence sensor, it's internally sealed, right? You don't see the magnets and stuff. It's not going to get kicked and bumped quite as easily. We still got a control box here floating around, but it's like welded to the frame, and I think it's tucked away pretty well, pretty secure. Battery pack, it's a shark fin now instead of dolphin. Kind of neat, it's an upgrade, but I think they don't have the USB port on that anymore. Very similar display, adjustable angle, backlit. Very generic. I don't know if King Meter makes this one. It almost looks like a step down from King Meter. You can arrow through the levels of pedal assist over here, all the way up to 5, take it all the way down to 0, and then I believe that the throttle still works. Look at that. This thing is this is peppy. 8-speed, Shimano Alivio, kind of a midnight bluish. I thought it was matte black or something when we were back in the store because I'm at Sam's shop. How's it going, buddy?
Good. We're just checking out the Oahu 500EX.
Oh yeah.
And this is like the 4.0. This product has actually evolved and it's had 4 generations of refining and getting better. And this thing is a rocket. It's a 28 mile an hour bike and 5 levels of pedal assist. But it is governed at 20 miles an hour in the throttle mode, and that is a Depu motor. And an interesting thing, I was talking to Wayne.
It's Depu. Cool.
Yeah. So at the factory, Wayne was telling me, he asked the dealer, should we do it for torque or for high speed? And I'm like, well, lately everybody's going with a high speed thing, So this is a Depu programmed at its inception at the factory, a Depu for speed, not torque.
Okay.
But you can still climb a good hill with it. It's just not.
You were moving. You were flying on it just a minute ago, and I was like, "Dang, dude, get your helmet on."
It's one of the most affordable ways to get to 28 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But in a cruiser format, it's almost scary fast on this bike.
It's thrilling. And again, do you mind sharing your weight? How much you're at?
I'm 265 now. Actually went up a little bit.
Big guy, taller, and to be able to move and zip around at those higher speeds, it's capable. I also like the suspension fork up here, and it almost looks like kind of color match. I don't know, is that the same color? It's sort of a sparkly black. Anyway, it blends in really, really nicely. Suntour XCT, I'd say this is a little bit more basic. Heavier oil suspension, preload adjust. I think it was 57 pounds when we were weighing this before, which that's kind of what I'd expect, if not a little lower. Like, a lot of times these can be fairly heavy.
And feature rich with rack and fenders and suspension front end, lights. I mean, it's got all the stuff on it already.
You hit it, man. I'm sorry. I was like jumping into comfort and ride quality, but yeah, I mean, look at this. Trendo by Spaninga headlight. It can be angled. The thing about it is, I believe these are not integrated, right?
Correct.
So you can actually take the light off and take it with you.
I've done that at campground.
Have you done that?
When I go take a shower, I'll take the headlight off and I go into the shower with the headlight.
I think that's awesome. Oh, because then you could you don't slip and fall.
No, you want to light your way. You don't want to step on a rattlesnake or something.
That's hilarious. You're walking in the bathroom. This one's like, it's bolted on, solo by Spaninga, but again, AAA batteries in there. So you have to, don't leave them on accidentally or something. That's one of the areas where I think they did cost-cutting measure. $19.99 for this bike.
Yeah, $19.95 is suggested retail, but a lot of the dealers have got better pricing on that.
Okay.
And again, this is the cheapest way to get to 28 miles an hour. So do the math and figure out and look at other reviews and then kind of get an idea of what we retail these for off our showroom floor. But some of the things I don't like are the fenders. They're really cheap and they wiggle around. And these little caps right here, a lot of times these will like come loose.
Wait, hold on. Look at this. Amtrak. Just wanted to, that's what you might be hearing in the background. And these fenders aren't as loud as that, right?
No. And it's really common for people to come into the Amtrak station because the train station here in Fullerton is only actually 2 blocks from our store.
Oh, yeah.
And I've literally had people come up from San Diego, Oceanside, come up here, buy a bike, and take their bike back down.
How cool.
All the way to
That's awesome.
San Diego County. Yeah.
Hooray for public transportation.
Yeah, well, this is a great way,
awesome.
though. Electric bikes and trains.
That's right. They do. I lived up in the Bay Area, and you would take the train up to the city from like Mountain View, and that was a cool way. They did have a bike carriage. Anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were like, well, the fenders, there's room for improvement. There's only one support, and you were talking about these twist things?
Yeah, they come loose. So if you have a bike that has these kind of twist connectors here, check them once in a while and make sure they're firm and tight, or they will come loose and fall off. We see that on a monthly basis in our store, and there are a lot of other brands that use these same type of rods with these kind of screw-on connectors right here.
Right. Well, okay, great point. The chain cover, it's plastic, but again, color matched. For the price, for me, I guess the aesthetics, like, you know, I spent a little bit of time on these bikes, but I spent a lot more time studying them, and I thought they did a great job making it,
Look
like,
at your
beautifying
grips,
it.
you got your
stitched.
Yeah, kind of, you know, got that ergonomic feel to it.
Bell.
Yes.
Bell.
And
I got a critique. Adjustable angle stem here, I like the adjustability, but if you don't keep that tight, much like the fenders, I've found that sometimes they can come a little loose over time.
Not only that, but let me show you this. So at 28 miles an hour with this stem on here, on other cruisers, they've got a much more rigid stem here, and you can see how much flex I've got this tightened.
Oh no, man.
See all this?
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're really railing into a corner, that's got a little bit of flex to it. So
yeah,
something to consider.
You wouldn't want to take a nosedive at that speed. Otherwise, does the bike feel pretty solid to you?
Yeah, so I rode this bike about 28 miles over to a campground once when we were camping, and I started out at 28 miles an hour in level 5 pedal assist, and within 5 to 6 miles, my battery was dropping. I was like, oh my gosh. So I was like, I'm not gonna make 28 miles at 28 miles an hour, there's no way. So I dropped it down to level 4, and it didn't drop much more after that. I went another 15, 20 miles.
Okay.
So again, the battery gauges are never accurate. But my point I was making is, when you're boogieing on this thing at 28 miles an hour, you're burning up your battery really fast.
Good point.
So you have that option to get that big burst of power to 28 miles an hour, because Kanika, my wife's out ahead of me a couple hundred yards, and I want to close the gap.
Yeah.
But you don't have to hold it at 28 all the time, but it's nice having that almost like a boost turbo mode you can get into to close a gap on something.
And I really love, back to how it's all set up, that you could be riding at a lower level of assist, just cruising, taking the edge off, like relaxing, and then instantly override it with that trigger throttle. But because it's active at 0, it's really active at all times when the bike is on. Just be careful that you're not going to move the bike and you grab the handlebar and then it's like, you know, because you get full power instantly.
And remember, Court, anything above like level 2 pedal assist is going to be faster than the throttle takes you to, because the throttle on this bike only takes you to 20 miles an hour.
Oh, that's true. Well, you have to work with it. You're not going to get as much power, but you can, like, you're right, the motor's not going to stop if you keep pedaling.
Yeah, and when you hit level 3, 4, or 5, you're going faster in those levels of assist than your throttle does at maximum throttle.
That's interesting. Yeah. Sometimes, like, the displays let you lower your max speed, or have you tinkered with this one?
Yeah, no, this one does not do that, but you're right. But when you ride the bike, you'll see what I'm talking about when you give it a test ride.
Well, I might hop on right now, take it out for a spin. We've got the EG Oahu 500EX. They also have the Maui, and it's kind of the same platform. It's just step through. So if you're someone who wants step through, you know, the frame's not quite as stiff, and depending on your style preferences, you know, the battery's a little bit more exposed. I just wanted to call this out. I might look at that one separately. So.
Yeah, and we could, all right, we'll do that.
We'll hop in that. So I'm gonna hop onto this bike, give it a spin, and then I might trade off and watch you for a second too.
Sure.
Oh, kickstand. I like that it's not like directly below the bottom racket, but man, it's like a little bit more back and it wouldn't collide with the pedal.
You know, last year's model, the kickstand was here, Court, and it was a big critique that we had.
Oh, yeah.
And Wayne listens to the dealers and the end user. And every year at Interbike or even on the phone, we'll talk about the models and changes that need to be improved upon.
So why did you, so too crowded?
It was too far back, and there was so much weight toward the front of the bike that the bike would fall over. So we were like taking every single kickstand off the bike and putting our own aftermarket kickstand that mounted about here, and it had a much bigger footprint. And it would come down about here instead of being way back here, and the stock kickstand was about the size of the end of my finger here, instead of like a big footprint down here like this.
Sam, what's that story where there's like 3 bears?
Oh, yeah.
It's like one's too hot and one's too cold. We need it right there, Wayne, right there, if possible, because then it'd be perfect.
Sure.
But whatever, that's a minor critique. You don't have to have the keys in to ride. I just don't want to lose them. So
one stage starting Court. Just hit the button to power the bike on.
That's
right.
Press the mode button for a couple seconds. The display comes on.
It defaults to level 2 always.
6 bars, okay? So,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you only get 5 or 4. Level 2, so I guess that's one of the more efficient levels. Let's see, we got our odometer. So if you press the mode button, it cycles through trip meter, total distance, back to trip. I guess it just does those 2. I'm take it away, okay? Here we go. Let's do it. Pedaling.
It's hard.
Oh yeah. It zips like right away, even for level 2. I mean, that's pretty peppy. I'm gonna take it down to level 1. Well, now I can barely feel it, and it's, you know, maybe just taking off the edge of the weight of an electric bike. Yeah, there's a big jump. Level 2. Yeah, I don't know, hopefully you could hear that. Whoa. Now we're up to level 4, not even level 5. Each time I pressed the button, it was noticeable. Big step up in power and speed. Whoa! And this is when it's good to have those disc brakes and motor inhibitors. This is seriously one of the faster, more powerful cruisers I've seen. It's zippy. It's quite powerful.
It's one of the most powerful bikes in this price range, if not the most powerful in this price range.
Can we get a shot of you on this real quick, Sam?
Yeah, for sure. And I also wanted to point out a couple things before I get on here, Court.
Yeah.
You quickly mentioned it had an 8-speed gear cluster on the back.
Yeah.
And when you're cruising this thing at 25 miles an hour, your cadence is nice and mellow. There are a lot of bikes that are the cruiser format that have a 44-tooth primary sprocket and maybe a 6 or a 7-speed gear cluster on the back.
Yeah.
And you're spinning like a hamster trying to keep up at anything over 20 miles an hour. At 25 miles an hour with that 8-speed on the back, even though it doesn't have a massive one on the front here, it's the cadence is nice and mellow.
That's a good point. And this is Alivio. We're not dealing with like tourney. This is, you know, a little bit of an upgrade, maybe gonna last longer, fewer tune-ups. Do you have an experience or feedback on Alivio?
You know, the derailleur, you pay for what you get. That's basically what it comes down to when it comes to components. Brakes, the same way. Hydraulic versus mechanical.
Yeah.
And, you know, derailleurs, fenders, everything goes up in price.
This is more
better quality.
It's more value priced here, but it's not the lowest end. It's a little bit up from that.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to.
Definitely.
Okay, let's do it, man. Be careful with those handlebars.
There we go. So level 5, when it kicks in, there it goes. And I'm just barely pedaling for it.
And I really like the suspension fork, you know, as mentioned a minute ago. It's nice to have that comfort. You could also do a seat post suspension. Want to give me a brake test? I guess not. He wants to high speed cruise it. Maybe a brake test here? Brake test it, sweet. Oh yeah, very nice.
Locked up the back there for a little bit.
That was
great. And you
great.
heard a little bit of creak from the spokes. On new bikes, they're going to creak a little bit. I recommend that any electric bike you buy from any dealer, you should take it back within 30 days and have them actually tighten up your spokes for you.
That's a really good
Especially
point.
with a bike that makes this kind of speed and torque.
Yeah.
That rear wheel, if you don't do it, you might have issues with it getting loose spokes. And, you know, you've got a double wall rim back here.
Yeah, and a bit thicker spokes too.
And one other thing I wanted to mention on this bike, Court, is if you actually put this down to level 1 pedal assist, there's a huge drop off from level 2 to level 1.
I noticed that too.
So if you put it in level 1, you don't get that herky-jerky cadence sensor, oh boy, here comes all the power all of a sudden. And some people are intimidated by that when they get on an electric bike. They want a more smooth, linear power delivery, so drop them down to that level 1 when you're going to give them a test ride. And get them in the right gear as well when they start out.
That's a really good point. These are great tips. You know, you have this shop, you have a bunch of different bikes, and each one's a little bit different, but there are some general, just, you know, it takes a while for the cables to kind of break in and soften up, and it's good to have things tuned up, like you're saying, especially with a heavier bike.
That's why we offer that free first tune-up when you come in.
So, you know, I've got all the specs on this, all the ones I could gather, being a little bit more detailed now, back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Sam, you're right here in Fullerton, California, so if someone's nearby, you got your shop, Electric Bicycle Center. I appreciate you riding with me. Next time we'll have your helmet on.
Yeah, don't be a knucklehead. Put your helmet on, right?
Thank you for the time and getting to demo these, and great upgrades, Wayne. Also, quick release on the front. That's kind of a fun upgrade. Later.
Take care.